So my name is Mike Marino. I am the current iGroup chair. Welcome to the monthly iGroup Council. It's basically for the coordinators for the areas and anybody interested in groups. And we got a couple special guests here, and can't wait to hear from them. So in the meantime, I'd like to give Robert, can you give a blessing, please?
Absolutely. Welcome, men. I invite you to take one deep belly breath. Close your eyes and just let that breath kind of drop into your diaphragm and feel that O2 just going out into your cells. Fill yourself with oxygen. Stretch that diaphragm and send the oxygen splashing into every cell. And I invite you to hear my words, raise your happiness, and remove any unnecessary weight from your heart tonight. I invite you in silence to name an intention for yourself as you become present to this assembly. And take a second to relax into that intention. I invite you to assume an attitude of reverence as we consider tonight the power and proper use of ritual in our circles. And as always, all of you is welcome. Amen, Ashe, Aho, and so it is.
Thank you, Robert. Thank you. Charlie, would you be willing to set our intention and our mission?
I think I have this right. Mission and purpose for the Mankind Project or for this council?
You can do both, or whatever feels right to you.
Mission and purpose. The purpose of the Mankind Project is to create a safer world by growing better men. We do this by training men and supporting them in groups. The MKP USA mission is to create a world where men act on their individual and shared responsibility for the future of humanity by initiating and supporting men on a path of emotional maturity, spiritual awareness, and deepening community. Vision. Our vision is a safe world where all men are brothers in relationship with one another. A world where conflicts are resolved peacefully, where torture, genocide, domestic violence, and senseless war are only entries in the history books, where men are fully accountable and take responsibility for their decisions, where men stand tall and proud to be men, secure in their role, and deeply committed to nurturing one another, their families, their communities, and their planet. Core values: accountability, authenticity, compassion, generosity, integrity, intercultural competency, leadership, and respect.
Thank you, Charlie. All right, so I want to welcome two new members of steering. One is Charlie Smith. So I'd like to welcome you, Charlie. I don't know if you want to say a little bit about yourself. Why you jumped on.
Sure, yeah. I'm crazy and I love this work passionately. I went through my weekend in 2008 in Philadelphia community at New Hope, Deer Park. And ever since, I've been trying to find ways to be useful to the purpose of men growing and becoming all they can be. And I'm really excited to be here. So with that, I'm in.
Thank you for stepping
Thank
into
you.
steering. And then we got Robert Wormay, also stepped into steering.
Worma. So I will.
Worma.
That's okay. Initiated in 2005 in Clara Barton up here in Massachusetts, and spent a lot of time working on creating an I group, developing an I group in New Haven, in the Connecticut area. I stepped into area steward back, I don't know, a while back. So I got involved at that level. Myself and Andy Breeding, who's now the New England area steward, he and I both stepped up to be I group coordinators back in 17 or 18, sometime back there. So we were trying to set a standard for working on doing these things together. And Andy and I have been friends for now 5 years, 6 years, and going forward with that. I'm currently mentoring our weekend coordinator for our April weekend here in New England, and continuing to do as Charlie says, kind of trying to be helpful, and helping the area develop some substance. We've had 3 weekends, and we've had energized rookies coming through. They all want to staff. So we're figuring out how to include them all in our staff work coming up through 2026. I'm in with that.
Thank you, Robert. All right, so we've got some new I group coordinators. Please use the reaction button since I can't really see hands. Use the raise hand reaction if you're a new I group coordinator. I'd like to welcome you. Charlie. So that, Charlie, just real quick introduction. I want to get to Lonnie and Grohova. Real quick introduction of what area and why you're doing this. A sentence.
Yeah. Thank you. I'm Charlie Penner. I'm with the Ann Arbor community, and I initiated in 2012 in Circle Pines. This is my first activity outside of our community. So I'm really looking forward to getting more involved now that I've got some more time to do things, and just here to listen and learn at first. So thanks.
Thank you. Tyler. Keelan.
Good evening, man. Tyler, Powerful White Wolf, no inner essence at this point in time. Initiated 2016, Intermountain Range, Idaho with my father-in-law. Started my journey with Golden Shadow Man Rising out of New Haven, Connecticut with Robert Worma. So it's a pleasure to see that man here. I'm a New York City Metro I Group coordinator. Why now? I'm in a good place in my life. Balanced, career is going well. It's a good time. The men who are also stepping up in my local circle, men I admire, care about, and want to carry forward a vision of a lot more community in this area. So it was the right time. I'm in.
Thank you, Tyler, for stepping up. Scott.
Hello, Scott Hoppersberger in Canton, Georgia. I initiated spring 2023 at A.H. Stevens State Park in Georgia. I group coordinator for the Southeast area. And why am I doing this? I groups are dear and special to me as men's continuing work for the rest of my life. If NWTA was step 1, every I group is another step. And so I want to create and be in high quality I group spaces, and I'm in.
Thank you, Scott. Appreciate you stepping up. Michael Heminger.
Hey everyone, Michael Heminger checking in from Madison, Wisconsin. I'm actually just outside of Madison. I was initiated November '99 in Phantom Lake, Wisconsin. I've been in an I group ever since then. And starting in 2017, we started experimenting with the open I group model here in Madison, and we have started building community and filling weekends just by creating good I groups. So I'm here to learn and experience you men and meet a lot of you, and I'm really happy to be here, and I'm in.
Thank you. Scott Robertson.
And I'm in 2 boxes, so I'm also in this box over here. So I'm connecting through my phone, but also bringing it up on my computer so I can see everyone's faces. So I'm in the Heartland region, coming to you from Kansas City, Missouri, and I was initiated in 2022 in Camp Chihoa, and Inner Essence is Harmony, and was just really looking to get more involved with Mankind Project in general, and this opportunity came up, and went ahead and grabbed hold of it. I've got a great mentor in Jeff Hahn, who was our area iGroup coordinator last year. So just really looking forward to seeing how I can help water the seeds that have already been planted, and maybe plant a few more myself. I'm in.
Thank you. All right. Anybody here for the first time, just use your reaction button, raise your hand, if you will. I want to see how many there are.
Mike, there's a Matthew does coach with his hand up.
Okay, Matthew. And why are you here? Is Matthew in an iGroup, or you don't have to speak. You can just stay silent if you want to.
Unmute. There we go. Hi, my name is Matt Doskotch. I'm just a guest here. I've been to a meeting, an iGroup meeting with my good friend Josh Kleiger, who's kind of introducing me to Mankind Project, and he thought it might be interesting. I'm sort of an amateur Iroquoianist. I've studied the Haudenosaunee culture, and since there was some sage burning stuff going on tonight, and sounded interesting to me, and Josh thought it'd be interesting for me. So it's kind of, I'm not an iGroup leader or
That's okay.
deep in
You're welcome here.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome here. Appreciate you joining us as a guest. All right, so we are going to go to just a check-in breakout room by area. Bill, can you give some instructions, or do you want to? And what's the check-in? Can somebody, Charlie, can you put that in the chat? I'm having trouble here.
Hey, Mike.
Yeah.
This is Lenny. Yeah. Just want to check. I realize this is your meeting and everything. I am short on time. I've only got about another 20 or 25 minutes. I'm at the bottom of the hill, and I'm trying to get up the snow mountain and put my chains on once I get to the snow thing before it gets dark.
So without this, you're the show. So let's switch things up, and we'll do the check-in afterwards. And Bill, can you spotlight Rich, Rohava, Lonnie, and I don't know if Ipso's here.
Steve Newcomb as well, please.
Yeah, Steve Newcomb. Thank you. I got Rich here. All right. Let's find you, Lonnie.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. And first of all, I'd like to.
All right.
Go ahead and set it up, Mike.
I'm gonna just hand it off to these wonderful indigenous men, and I want to learn. And so I'm gonna just hand it to you, and I'm gonna mute myself and shut up. Take care.
Thanks, Mike. And I'm never going to ask you to shut up, man. I thank you for your patience here and forbearance for me. I'm in a bit of a rush. I left Tucson this morning. I've been driving all day, and I'm trying to get home before it gets dark. And it's about 10 inches of snow up there already, and so I'm a little taxed, and I was eating a little bit because I haven't eaten since breakfast. So forgive all of that, please. And, please accept my imperfections. And I'm going to, first of all, I'll introduce myself real briefly. Most of you know my name, Lonnie Hamilton. Been institutionally involved at some levels for a while. I am a Muskogee Creek citizen from Oklahoma. I was in Oklahoma 2 days ago on my grandfather's allotment land where I live. And I have another place in LA. So I am Muskogee Creek, and my grandmother was Cherokee. My clan is of the Cherokee Nation because it's matrilineal. And I will hand it off to Rich Grijalva now.
Greeting relatives. My people are from a very small and sacred village in California, just below the San Gabriel Mountains. They are of the Gabrielino Tongva people. On the other side of my family lineage in a smaller village by the Pacific Ocean in San Juan Capistrano are the other people in my heritage called the Hachimen. My grandfather's name is Black Wolf. My grandmother's name is Little Flower. I am the adopted grandson of CeeLo Blackcrow. My father's name is Gray Wolf, who is a medicine man. I am known as Ashut Hunut, which means eagle bear in my language. I was a certified leader within the project. I then stepped down, and I'm now leader emeritus. I went to the weekend in November of 1990 in Hamelwoods. I've done 100 weekends, became certified leader in 95. I will be going to a weekend in May in the Southeast. So I still go and provide what I can in terms of the wisdom. Many men know about the processes, but they don't really know how the processes came about. And I'm one of the fortunate ones that were there among the very beginning, as well as that within my group that meets once a month is Rich Tosi, who's the co-founder of the MKP, is in my group. Joe Lauer, the first executive director, is in the group. Jim Mitchell is in the group, former chair, and involved in a lot of other places within the project. Al Mann up in Memphis, who is a trip. So Al's in the group, and Dave Bowery's in the group. So we're pretty much, the youngest man in our group is 70. Everybody else is over 70 or in the 80s. So we're a bunch of old fucks. So our group works a little different than most I groups. We ain't gonna kill anybody's father. We're past that. So, but they're still very powerful. So I go about the way I did that is that in our ways, we talk about where our people are from, and then we begin to talk about our lineage. The last person I mentioned was me. And we do that on purpose, is that way, if you hear about where I'm from and my people, that gives you a little bit of idea who I might be. So we introduce ourselves differently. And the reason I chose to do that is that I do some other trainings. And what I have to do in that training is to break apart this linear thinking that we have been taught, that it goes from a beginning to a middle to an end. And life works that way. In our culture, we use whole brain thinking. So we're always talking about circles. Life is a circle. If you see indigenous people together outside of a restaurant, you can tell because they're standing in a circle. It's just what we do. And the reason I want to say that to you is that when we talk about smudging, the first thing I want you to know is that it is not a universal practice. Not every tribe smudges. And those of us that do smudge, we don't smudge identically. Each tribe does it differently for different reasons. It has the same intention, we have the same medicine, but our purpose and how we do it is differently. So the way we're taught is that my way is the way I was taught. It doesn't mean your way is wrong. It just means that was the way you were taught. So we don't really go in this is the way you have to do it. And I want to preface that, is that I want to leave you with the intention is that it's a cookie cutter type of deal. I will, and so will the other men here, we will pass on some guidelines for you to practice and understand the sacredness of what you are embodied or undertaking. For most men in the project, and I've been around for a long time, they've never smudged in their life. They don't know what it is. And this is the first time they're around it. Many of them don't ask questions because it just is. And they don't want to either be embarrassed or they don't want to ask, or there's nobody there that can answer the question. That's not a criticism. It just is an observation. So our intent here is that we want to encourage you. We want you to ask questions if they come up. Every question is welcome. That's just the way we do things. So as I begin to talk to you about smudging, some of the examples of the way we use that is that some tribes will use smudging at the beginning of every ceremony or ritual in which they gather. That's what my tribe does. Others will use it during healing ceremonies, and I've been involved in around healing ceremonies, and it's done at the beginning. Some people will use it to cleanse objects, or they'll use it to honor the spirits of those that have gone by in the past, or when they're celebrating those spirits. Now, the reason I'm giving you all that information is that the man who started off this session and was given a blessing asked each and every one of you, what was your intention? And that is probably the one universal practice within smudging is, what is your intention? The idea here is that you come to iGroup or you come to a weekend or wherever you may be using this, particularly in a group setting, you want to talk about you coming in with a positive intention. All of you remember the gift, right? When you went on Sunday and you're doing the gift, and there's a part in the gift where you're asked to hold hands and you're in a circle and you begin to feel the energy moving around. Do you recall that? That's because energy moves in a circle. So when we smudge, we never smudge in a straight line. We always smudge in a circle because that's how energy moves. And with your intention, if you have a negative intention, I had a shitty day, I'm pissed off at my partner, my spouse, my wife, my husband, that energy will get to the next man, to the next man, to the next man. So it's important that when you smudge, one is that I recommend that you do it in a circle, and two is that you have a positive intention. It doesn't mean you have to state it out loud, but you have an intention that is, in our tradition, is being put into the smoke and is being carried up to the Creator. And so along those lines, when we light sage, and I have in my hand white sage, our people protect white sage. It's being over harvest. So actually the sheriff and police out in California are now arresting these people who are taking it, because what they do is they break the plant off and it will not grow again. Plus, what is the intention of the people who are harvesting white sage or other sage to put on Etsy or in head shops or what have you? What is their intention? Exactly, Bill. To make money. It's not a blessing. It's not being cared for. It's not being treated. So for us, it's important to understand who is caretaking the sage, so we know its origin and we know its source. I don't necessarily have to know the man or woman or child who was taking care of it, but I know they were doing it in a good way and blessing it, harvesting it, taking care of it, putting water on it, and making sure weeds were not around it. So it's important that when you buy your sage is to know the source that it comes from, wherever that may be. And there's plenty of places on the internet, and I know Lonnie has some sources he can probably recommend to you that you can get it from. My people don't sell it. What they do is they give it to the elders and other people within the tribe, and then I gift it. So on the weekends I go to, I will gift the sage to the men that are there if they choose to take it. Because they know where it came from, and that's how we do things. We gift it. So my sage is gifted to me, and I gift it to other people. You'll notice that I have not a sage stick, because I do it in the traditional way, which is in the loose leaf form. You notice that I only have one. This one would probably work with the minute I'm looking at right now and keep burning. So you don't have to have an abundance of sage to be able to get the effects of the sage. This is enough. And when we burn sage, if you're using a sage stick, I've seen many men take that stick and put it in the ground. And what we are taught, or what I taught with the sage, is that you let it burn until it stops. And it's done that way because when the creator is done with it, the creator will let you know. So the other part that we do, if should it run out, is I might take one more of these and I'll put it in my abalone shell, and that's how I do it. And allow the men to pass it around until it's done. And in some circles, I will put the abalone shell in the center of the circle. And rather than going around and smudging everybody, I will place in the center and ask for each man, if they choose, when they're ready, to go in there and what we call is bathing in the smoke. That is what we do when we're waffling it. We call it bathing in the smoke. For many of us, we will start with the head and then we'll move our way down to our heart. Yes, I have seen it where it goes down the legs and down to the feet, and you turn around and do in the back. If that's your way, then that's your way. Our way is that we just go through and go to the heart. We say a prayer as we're smudging. There are lots of different prayers. Whatever prayer you happen to have, whatever you're asking for, whatever that intent is that this is the time when you do that. For some, there's a variation of a Cherokee prayer where you will start from the head, and as you go through the prayer, you ask for your mind to be open so that you can think and take in all the good information that's being said. And you do it over your eyes so that can only see the good in every man that's in this circle. And then you put over your mouth, so I only speak good things. You put it over your ears so that you will only hear the good words. And then you will take the longest distance a man will ever take in his life, the 18 inches from his head to his heart. And you'll bring it in so that your heart will be open so that you can listen and take in this good information. I hope. But whatever it is for you is right. There's no right or wrong way in doing this. So I'm giving you more information that would be more applicable as an I group is meeting at their home, for an example, as opposed to doing it in some other place or some other way or on a weekend. So I'm trying to put this in a place where it would be useful for you to know and how you might be able to go do it. Again, there's no right or wrong way. Our people will use matches, and we don't use butane lighters because that's artificial. But if that's all you've got, that's fine. But if you've got wood sticks, even better. Because that represents one of the 4 directions, by the way. When we do this, it's representing all 4 directions. When we use the feather to do the waffling, the feather is air, and that's east. And the fire stick is from the south. And the abalone shell represents water, which is west. And the medicine represents the north, because this is where the wisdom comes from. And as you know, sage is commonly used as a way for cleansing and purification. Sweetgrass invites good energy. Cedar is hardness. Tobacco is the lead medicine, and that is used more in ceremony than anything else. What we're taught is that we don't put all of the medicines together because you will confuse the creator. Are you wanting protection? Are you looking for cleansing? Or are you inviting good energy? So we don't mix it. We only use one, which is why primarily in our use, we're using sage. So I'm going to stop there because I gave you a lot of information and give you an opportunity to ask any questions that you have, and one of the 3 of us will answer.
Can I have Steve Newcomb introduce himself? He's spotlighted. I just want to maybe just hear his background, and we can open up for questions. Does that work for you, Rich?
Absolutely. He's next.
Yeah.
Yeah, Steve Newcomb. My genetic heritage goes back to the Creek Nation with Lonnie. My people were the Yuchi people. They were swept up in the Trail of Tears with the Creek Nation from Tennessee, Kentucky area, and driven to Oklahoma. 6 generations of my family gravestones are in the red dirt of Oklahoma. So it's where I live. It's where I come from. I'm also a traditionally taught ceremony leader in the Lakota Sundance tradition. My teaching lineage goes back to Frank Fool's Crow, Wallace Black Elk, Martin High Bear, Charles Chips, and Michael Two Feathers are the ones that have mentored me into what I know about ceremony. And I'd say about this topic, to me, at the highest level, we're talking about the 3 R's here, which are respect, relationships, and responsibility. And respect is about respecting each other, respecting the man in front of you, respecting everything that is around us. And this is part of the intention I bring when I smudge people, is to see who's there in front of me, to respect them and honor the medicine. The relationships, so in our tradition, we believe that everything in the plant world is one of our relatives. And sage or whatever we're using is a plant that's agreed to give up its life to do something for us. And that's a huge giveaway. And we want to honor that and for the goodness that it brings. And as Rich said, we don't mix medicines. Sage is sage, sweetgrass is sweetgrass, cedar is cedar. And in my tradition, each one of those, like Rich, is used for a different purpose. And responsibility is our responsibility as human beings. We're gifted with a lot of abilities, and that energy should be turned to protecting what's around us. And that includes the plant world. That means we take care of the medicines, we take care of the plants as part of our commitment to the earth that we live on. And we don't use things that we don't need to use. And we make sure that something's left for the next generations. And to me, that's one of the most important things to think about when you're using a plant medicine, is to don't use it all right here, right now. Some needs to be left for the next ones who will be using it long after we're gone and are part of the earth that grows these plants. So thank you for your time. It's really good to see this circle of men who are dedicated to making iGroups work and function. I really appreciate what you're about. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, both my brothers, my relatives. It's important that we share now, and I'll share with you now using I statements. My brother Rich shared different medicines that are used by his people with different intentions, different purposes, and all of that. In MKP, we've decided, because we don't have perhaps the depth, enough people, enough time to perhaps go and sit with the elders to teach us about all the other medicines and so forth, that we're going to use sage. And the other medicines, if you work with a traditional person, perhaps you'll learn more about that. But in MKP, we use sage. So that's where we're going as we move forward. What kind of sage to use? That is subject to perhaps different things. As my brother said, the white sage is being over-harvested, and it's becoming an endangered species in the Southwest and California, where it's predominant. That is a real sadness for this man. And we have a responsibility to be mindful of, as Rich shared, where we get it, how it was harvested, are the people we buy it from taking care of it? Are they supporting the natives who do harvest it in a good way, who know when to harvest the plant, when the plant is ready, when is a good time for harvesting? And have they done it with ceremony and prayer and, as is our tradition, in a good way? So that's what we're talking about. The white sage is a good sage to use, and one leaf is enough to smudge 1 or 2 and sometimes 3 people. One little leaf, as Rich said, one small sprig will do this entire room. You may have seen me when I was sitting here trying to get grounded and be ready for our conversation, I keep some sage on my dash everywhere I go. And I took one leaf of what the Lakota use as sage, which is technically an artemisia, not a sage. But I'm not going to tell the Lakota it's not sage because it's good enough for me. Sage, I'm good with it. I harvest that sage myself in South Dakota at an appropriate time of year. I took one leaf off, and yeah, because I didn't have a match handy, I used a butane lighter. And the smoke, I brought it over my head, as was shared as a good thing to do. Brought it into my being with my clear intention to be grounded and prepared and help to share a little bit of the wisdom that I have been taught from the elders with each of you. And then I brought it into my heart so that my heart would be open and I would speak in a good way and share what little I have here to share with you. So to reiterate, sage is what we're choosing to use institutionally in MKP going forward, whether it's white sage or the artemisia, the Lakota plains sage, or in the Southwest, many of the people use a sage they call mountain sage. There's black sage. What are the people in your area where you are? If you have a relationship with them or want to develop a little bit more learning, what do they use there? In Australia, the indigenous people there use the gum leaves, the eucalyptus leaves to smoke themselves, to bathe in the smoke. In Hawaii, they use tea leaves and dip them in water and use the water because it's about the water people. Everything comes from the water in the sky. So there's many different methods and things that we can do. So if we're in the land of the indigenous people in Australia, we will honor their ways and respect their traditions as much as possible. But here, we use sage. There are many different varieties. So that's what I wanted to share about that. You heard Rich say aho. That is also a pretty native thing, and some natives have taken offense at that being used very openly and widely in MKP. So we, as an institution, have chosen, out of respect for those whom it may impact in a negative way, to not do that in the way we used to do it. In my tribe, we say ho after a speaker, an elder has spoken. Words that he wants us to hear to acknowledge that we have heard him. We're not doing that in MKP either. So it's about respect, not about telling you do or don't do, but to be mindful and aware, and that sometimes the impact is not congruent with our intention. So I'm complete with that and open to questions.
All right, Ben, raise your hand. If you have questions, the interactive.
Yeah, Robert Worman's had his hand up for quite a little while.
Yeah, go ahead, Robert.
Thank you. And thank you, all of you three brothers, for sharing that information with us. And I still feel some confusion about what, we've gone through the challenge of spirit and the ways in which we.
I'm sorry, time out, Robert. When the challenge of spirit, when you say that to me, it hurts my heart. Because spirit means something completely different for me than I think what you were referring to.
Thank you.
You were talking, if I'm correct, for clarity, you were talking about the spiritprotection.org people.
Thank you. That's right.
For me, that's a really important discernment to be clear on. So thank you for hearing that. And I hear that you're confused. Is there a question that we can answer that might help with the confusion rather than getting into story? Because everybody, I think, may want to have something to say.
Of course, Lonnie. I think you squared away the issue of aho. It's a matter of offense to some people, and so we want to be careful about that. And you squared away the issue that we have permission or we're authorized to use sage, not sweetgrass, not eucalyptus, but sage is what we use in MKP to do the smudging. Correct?
Well,
That's
first,
what we've chosen. Yeah, Rich, why don't you take this?
no, I want to take the first part. The man who was working directly with that group is this man. I was designated and asked to do that by the board. After talking to my family and then talking to my tribe, because I knew that the tribe could be attacked because that group is in California. So they went ahead and supported me. That group, my dad worked with the man who started that group. That was back in the 70s, and my dad was working with him in San Francisco and did another program that I won't even go into. When the man who started that group, he died. And when he died, so did the group. The group was not recognized by California. It was defunct. It came back with the sole purpose of attacking MKP. It came back because men within MKP had gone to them and asked them to take the charge of some of the processes we were doing. So understand it didn't come from that group. It came from your brothers and my brothers. That's where it started. There wasn't any time when I asked for permission for being able to smudge. I told them that we were going to smudge. There were other things that we already were working on long before that group ever showed up. Well, we already had decided that some of the things we were doing were probably time for us to change, which is what we were in the middle of doing anyway. So when it comes to smudging, it's on the video that was between us and that group. My face is on it. And I was very explicit that said, we are going to continue smudging because nobody on the planet owns sage. Nobody on the planet owns spirit. So and she backed away because she understood where I was coming from, that they didn't have the right to stop us, nor could they stop us. What I did say is what we're doing right now, that we would be educating the men within the project the appropriate use of how to smudge, because there was a lot of different ways of doing it. So first of all, I want you to know it's not about permission. This is the way we were going to do it. In terms of the herbs, which one can you use and not use? We have pretty much asked for men to stay away from tobacco and some of the other things. But I know Lonnie's going to probably jump in here and say there are other things that you can use in place of sage, which is also appropriate. Again, sage, because what's the intent of sage? It's a cleansing and purification, and that's essentially what we're doing. As you know, with the Japanese culture, before you walk into their house, you take off their shoes. Why? Because you want to leave all that energy on the outside of the home and not bring it in. Same idea with sage. We want to get rid of all that energy that you're bringing so that you come in with a good, positive intention. Pretty much.
Thank you, Rich. I feel I'm honored by your reply. I feel clearer about it. I also recognize that we're still dealing with some disruption in our area anyway around that experience, and but I feel blessed and helped by your explanation. I'm complete.
Thank
you.
You
can call me anytime you want if there's a question.
Thanks, Rich.
All right.
We're all
Adam
impacted by that going forward. I mean, we're not done with this. It's the impact on it is residual.
Thank you.
And we're trying to clean things
and
up.
I like to stay focused just on this topic here and not digress too much. Thank you. Adam, and then Ruben.
Thank you, Mike. Adam Waywell here. I just wanted to mention my initial intent in what I heard was feeling a lot of joy to learn the proper techniques around smudging. And I didn't feel any shame or sadness when I realized for the last 7 years I've been in Circle, I've been putting the smudge out in the ground. I've been using a butane lighter. I've been lining up straight. And I realize now in this moment how it could be done differently. That's bringing me great joy. And I appreciate you men and sharing your truth. Thank you. I'm in.
Thank you, Adam. Ruben.
Yeah, I understand that there's a video to be made, which I'm really looking forward to eventually. And the reason why I showed up is to hear you gentlemen speak to this piece. I'm wondering, to clear up confusion within like my local area, will there be like a process written up? I know that that's kind of overextending. And my understanding of a lot of my journey with MKP, if it's not written on paper, then like, hey, I can do it any way I want. And I think that's why we got to the situation we're in. Just wondering for clarity around that. I'm in.
Yeah. Ruben, I see Bill Davies. I see your hand up. I'd like to address what you said. From a native perspective, my people, the Creeks and the Yuchi of Steve's people, have been dealing with the colonials, the Europeans, for over 450 years. We have learned very early on that the talking leaves aren't all that important. They don't really mean what is written on those talking leaves. We call paper and pen and all that, contracts. The talking leaves apparently lie. We've learned that. So it's hard to trust paper. We're telling you from our hearts with our voices what is there. We will also do so in the video. And because, as you said, if it's not written down, it doesn't exist, I'm fairly certain that some sort of an institutional statement will be made around it, or some clarity will be put onto paper. Maybe we will do that after having done the video. Rich, what are your thoughts on that?
First of all, Ruben, it's good to see your face, brother. I will say a couple things. I was, as I said, I went back from 1990. How many of you know why we get naked on a trust walk? Why, Bill?
I heard it was a claim on court and Tosi or someone was taking people through a swimming pool.
It was, you are right. It was at Hamelwoods. I know because I went through the damn water. And the pool was in a building you could not see. So when they started to come through and said, we're going to do this trust walk, is that the question came up, well, how are we going to get them naked to go in the swimming pool? Because we'd have to stop and tell them to take their clothes off and do it. And somebody came up with a brilliant idea and said, well, why don't we take them into the staff room and then we'll tell them to take off their clothes and use their t-shirt as a way to blindfold themselves, and then we'll take them through. That was written down, Ruben. But somewhere along the line, it got changed. I can tell you animal names and how that was brought about as a shamanic practice by Bill Kauf that was done with drumming, that was done through a cave, that was done for you to connect into an animal spirit, not to change the name. And then along the way, we began to change animal names where all of a sudden there are flying elephants and there are elephants with big juicy balls. So we dishonored the men by taking away their animal spirit and giving them a name of a process. And that was written down and how to do that. So in a way that Lonnie is saying, even though it changes and gets fucked up, even if you write it down, it's going to change and get fucked up. So we do have a video that we've done, but that created some confusion because it didn't come through an exact process. So we are now talking among ourselves about how we might be able to do a better job so that we can avoid some of the confusion so that men can do this in a good way. But I think just listening to us right now and bring it in your heart. I mean, the one man, was it Adam? I don't remember who it was, who spoke and said, I was doing it in a line. I was putting the sage stick in the dirt. And now I heard a different way to do it. And there you go. and it'll go from one man to the next man to the next man and next man, and so it will be. But we will do something along that line movement. Don't exactly what it's going to be, but we're talking about a video again right now. We have it, but we're thinking about doing it shorter.
Thank you. Bill Davies.
Thanks. You hit two of the 3 points that we're kicking around out here. The third one was from a pit in San Diego. And the man was bothered that they called in the directions. Our own pit manual says it's both Native American, but it's also Jungian archetypes. So what's the skinny on that issue?
I'll start and the other guys may say something. I can tell you where this whole thing even started. So the first man, any of you familiar with a process called shadow works and the man who started that? You know the man's name who started that?
Thought it was Cliff Berry.
It is Cliff Berry. Cliff Berry and Ron Herring started a guts training together back in '82. And Cliff was the first man who introduced directions at a staff meeting in '93. Cliff was his model of guts. He began to work with archetypes. And if you're familiar with Cliff's work, he started to put things in quadrants. And in these quadrants, he put horoscopes, he put all sorts of different processes for many different people. He also put in archetypes in these particular ones. And he said, isn't it interesting that from an indigenous culture, what they teach in the East happens to fall in these 5 other things, including the archetype of the lover. If you go on the reservation and say, I stand in the direction of the lover, be ready to go to res jail. It doesn't fucking exist. So we, again, because of what he was introducing, which is some really good stuff in the work he's done, because I worked a lot with him and went to those original guts trainings. So it just happened to be that he was just putting these things in this quadrant. He never, ever thought that it would become what it became. So the archetypes and the directions do not exist at all. So when I do the directions, I never talk about archetypes. If I'm going to talk about archetypes, I talk about archetypes because they're truly 2 different things. I may be a little long-winded, but I want you to really understand where it comes from. I think it's important to understand the source.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you, Luke. I have a quick question.
Let me just say something about the directions. You know, in Lakota culture, the directions are the directions, man. They're immutable and they don't have anything to do with us human beings. They are what they are. And when we tie flags for the directions, we're super careful not to put any of our stuff in that flag to keep it clean. And that's, you know, there's an understanding there of our place in the world, our separateness from the world and our belonging to the world, our oneness with the world. And putting our thoughts onto something like the directions is just something we would never do in ceremony. So, yeah.
And by the way, the first time he was doing the directions, he said, look to the direction of the east, and he was standing in the west.
Was he standing in the west looking east or standing in the west looking west?
Exactly right. It was funny. Well, like I said,
yeah.
You do it.
Well,
there is something important
on the phone back then.
Yeah, there is something important that I want to throw in here. I've been here around for almost 23 years. Come in June, it'll be 23 years. And it always troubled me to hear calling in the direction, calling in the powers from the east, the west, the south, the north. And I started, challenging as I became a little bit more experienced and had, half a dozen trainings under my belt and stuff. I would ask questions. What are you doing when you call these in? Oh, it's just what we do. So this is what I have to say about that. And fortunately we've changed. We're not calling in the directions the way it's written on Sunday morning anymore or in weekends. And we, in my opinion, it would not be a good thing to continue doing if they're still doing it in the pit manual or in I groups. Honoring and so forth is one thing. Honoring, acknowledging the direction, the powers in the directions, because in some native cultures, there are certain powers that are associated with directions. And to call in those things, in my understanding, what if they hear you and they say, oh, they're calling us in? The spirits from that area, in my belief, are real and strong and very powerful. I don't want the spirits that are there at the west when the sun kisses the horizon coming in unless they're invoked for a very particular reason, because they're very powerful. And if they come and you're not ready, or you're not ready to receive them in a respectful way, let's put it this way, some things that you do not look for or want or desire might occur. It could bring harm. Now, that's
Consequences.
a native teaching piece that I won't say any more about. This is being recorded. People will see it. You don't call in something that was around before the two-leggeds walked the earth without having good training, knowledge, and understanding and abilities to address, honor, respect, use whatever it is, ask them for something. I'm sorry, I'm a little blown away by the fact that we call in directions still. I thought we'd done away with that. And if we haven't, it's something on our task to do. Don't call in something that was old when Jesus was born, okay?
Thank you, Lonnie.
Steve, were you going to say something? Steve, were you going to say something? Newcomb? No. Okay. Quick question around sage, Lonnie. I've seen men when they light it and then they blow into it. That doesn't feel right to me when they actually blow into it to kind of get the smoke going. Is it better to use feathers?
Mike, great question. I'm glad you asked because I didn't address that.
Yeah, I didn't hear it. That's why. Yeah.
No, I didn't. So thank you for that question. The way I was taught is that if you're blowing the smoke, you're blowing the energy and the spirit of the medicine away from it. So we do not do that. A feather is fine, or your hand is fine. That's why it's all about bathing in the smoke. But great question. To get the sage going, we don't blow into the sage because you're blowing away the spirit.
That's one perspective, and that too is also true. And I want to be clear again. I used to be the chairman of the board for the Mankind Project USA, and that's my girl calling. Where the hell are you? You're supposed to be up the mountain by now. The elders have told me that when you put your breath into that, you're putting your energy into the smoke, and that's going to other people as well. Is that what you're doing? Otherwise, as Rich shared earlier, you're putting your intention, whether conscious or unconscious, you're putting some of your energy. And if it doesn't happen to be a good, clear, positive energy, or maybe even if it is, it may impact the next man who's going to use the smudge. So it's better not to do that, not to put your energy into that, or to blow the smoke away from you so that it's not having the full intention of doing what it does. The elders also tell me you don't need to use a lot. If you can smell it and you've brought it over you like that, it knows what to do. It's going to do what it does because it knows who it is, what it is. And it answers the call that we put out there with the person.
Thank you. Someone else is calling you, Lonnie. So I wanted to thank you, Rich, Steve Newcomb, and Lonnie for your time and your wisdom and sharing that with us tonight. Thank you very much and appreciate it.
Yeah, blessings, man. Thank you all so much for hearing this man's words and my brother's words. May we all learn and be better humans as we move forward. And I'm going to check out with gratitude. I'm out. Much love.
Thank you, Lonnie. Appreciate you.
I want to answer a question I just saw pop up about animal names.
Go ahead, Rich.
So the deal about animal names is that back in 91, Bill Cuff had gone to a shamanic workshop. Shamans and medicine people are not the same. We don't have shamans in the indigenous culture. We have medicine men and women. Shamans are coming from Siberia. So it's a different kind of thing that's going on, you know, the Indies and stuff like that. When Bill went to it, is that he got all excited about it, came back, introduced it, and it started. The way the animal name started is that the way it's done in a shamanic process, it's done with a drum. And the visualization is that you're going through a cave and you come out a tunnel, and then you're in some place in nature. And then you come across an animal guide. You must ask the animal guide 3 times, "Are you my guide?" Once the guide says that they are, then what we would do is we would come back into our small group. Without saying a word, I would draw the animal that came to me, and the men in my group would look at me and they would draw the animal they saw in me. And then I decided which of these animal guides that I was going to take. And then what it was done is that if there were 2 bears, then there would be an invitation to the man to say, "Is there a way to describe that bear that came to you?" If there wasn't, then we had 2 bears. If there was, they would describe it. We never changed the name. And then at the end of the weekend, they were given a list of books to read. One of them was Animal Spirits by
Ted Andrews.
Ted Andrews. And asked to read that, and really in the I groups to start to embrace and understand the animal and see how they are in nature and us in the family. That's the way it was written up. It didn't end up that way, did it? That wasn't encouraged. Names got changed, and it became a vogue thing. One of the indigenous men had said, and that came up, "I have very close friends. His name is Eric Two Bears, and I have Jeff who falls from horses, and I have Standing Bear." These are not names on a piece of paper on the chest of a man on Saturday night. This is their lineage. This is their heritage. So could an indigenous man get offended by hearing white men taking on those kind of names without understanding where it come from or how it's done? My name was given to me after going through ceremony. I had to go on the mountain for 4 days, come back and tell the elders about my vision, and that was how I got my name. So it was very different, and then there was a naming ceremony. So it was very different names. So will it come back? It's been asked. It might. I don't know. But what I just want to offer you is how it started and how it ended up ain't the same.
Thank you, Rich. Are you complete?
I'm complete. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. So I'd like you all to take a breath. And what we're going to do, since things got switched around, we're going to go to random breakout rooms, and hopefully Bill's ready. And Charlie, Miller, can you put the second question in the chat around what your group does around setting intentions and any traditions, and like to share, maybe hear from other areas of the country and what they do in their group. And let's do that for 10 minutes, and then we'll come back and then do a checkout. Or do a checkout. All right. Go to your rooms, man.
I think James is frozen. Oh,
whoa.
So gotta pause this.
I clicked the blue button. I shouldn't have, I guess.
Is that like the blue pill or the red pill?
I guess I didn't see the red button, but that was probably there too.
All right, welcome back. All right, welcome back. So we gave you some prompts. I'd like to hear from a group. What was your, a couple men? What was the biggest cool thing you heard from that you heard in your group, that you shared in the group? Like to use the reaction button in terms of some traditions you guys use, some intentions your group uses.
And you're also welcome to put stuff in the chat because we captured that.
Oh yeah, good idea. Adam.
Thanks, Michael. Our Zoom room and the breakout really focused on this concept of intention and this changing from the outside world to the inside world, and the importance of creating ritual to bring in intention. And I think the general consensus that I judge is that the men that came to speak with us today had real positive intention to have us practice some of these rituals in a way that are in alignment with indigenous practices. And this man has buy-in. I'm in.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Anybody else in the other groups?
Robert here, Weber. Charlie, Chad, and Scott were in our group, and essentially, I think, to summarize, everyone realized that what was spoken today felt more clean, more sincere, and in alignment with the way things first came to be. And so we all had work of various kinds of another to come into a better alignment with use of sage and the directions. So, thanks. I'm out.
Thank you, Robert. All right, we have one more man. Okay. Robert Roma, are you ready to take us to a checkout?
Absolutely.
And we've got, how much time we got? We've got 12 minutes and 22 people, so let's try to keep it 30 seconds per man, and I'll put the prompt in the checkout. Go ahead, Robert.
So I'm going to invite you to get centered. Don't take too much time, but to bring some intention to your checkout, whatever that means for you. And I'm going to call on 3 men at a time to check out. And I will invite Bill Davies, Scott Robertson, and Michael Shepard. In that order, please check out.
Thank you, Bill Davies. My intention is to put this information to use. I'm tired of just doing something because they did it on my weekend. I really appreciated the 3 men that spoke to us tonight and just spoke direct truth from their heart. I am out.
Thank you.
I'm Scott. My intention is to offer the suggestion to my group to incorporate smudging, and I'll do my best to recall all of the wisdom that was shared. And I'm deep checking out, feeling deep gratitude to the men and the wisdom that they represent and shared with us this evening. I'm out.
I'm Michael Shepard. I'm a guest here, so I'm not familiar with your traditions, at the current moment. I do appreciate everyone that spoke this evening. I do smudging in my personal life, and it was nice to get guidance as to what I could be doing incorrectly and to move forward with a better approach. So thank you very much to everyone that's here. Check it out.
Thanks for joining us, Michael.
Thank you for having me.
Josh Klieger, Ken Eimer, and Theodore Fowler, please check out.
Josh Klieger checking out. My intention is in preparation for the upcoming NWTA next weekend is to really bring a lot of what I've learned here tonight about some good practices and kind of the history of smudging as I've learned tonight to the next weekend, and to share that with my brothers there. And as always, checking out with gratitude. Thank you.
Immer Ecstatic Eel, checking out with a very interesting new understanding about the game of telephone that we have been playing. And I'm out.
Thanks. Thanks.
I'm Ted. I'm checking out. Glad I got on the call, even if I was late. Learned a few things. Plan to take the new learning to my community here in Central Oregon, and we have a little more work to do to clean this up. So I'm grateful, and I'm in, or I'm out.
Thank you, brother. Ron and Bradley Buffett and Robert Weber, will you please check out? You're muted, Ron.
Bradley. Oh, nope. Okay, I'll go ahead and while Ron gets it worked out. Bradley, compassionate rattlesnake, white flame. My intention is to bring some deeper learning as a teaching piece when my I group goes camping at the end of the month. Out and in, out.
Beautiful, Bradley. Thank you.
Ron here. I'm ready. Can you hear me? Great.
Yeah.
Apologies. I'm working from my iPhone since I fried my PC. I'm looking forward to bringing this information. So first, I'm grateful to the three brothers that shared this information tonight. And I'm looking forward to changing part of our iGroup meeting to just the next step is to smudge, to bringing full meaning to that part of the meeting. I'm in. Out.
Thanks, Ron.
Robert Kine with Phoenix Soaring. I'm going to bring what I heard tonight from Rich, Steve, and Lonnie to my iGroup. There's considerable differences in our smudging and directions. So I was grateful and really appreciated hearing from three men who I consider now the source of how it is to be in those areas of our MKP. Thanks. I'm out.
Thanks, Robert. Adam Waywell, Tom Dedmar, Charlie Smith, will you please check out?
Thanks, Robert. Adam here, courageous. I am feeling a lot of positivity around intention and where it comes from, and the lessons learned for me tonight, I hope to carry into intentions through the rest of my day. Thank you, man. I'm out.
Denmark, Mighty Oak. My intention is to bring an increased level of awareness about intention to my iGroup. I think we take it for granted and don't talk about it. And it's been a good year since we did any kind of smudging activity. I think it's high time we picked it up again. Checking out with some joy to be hanging around a bunch of decent men this evening. I'm out.
Charlie, love and light. And I am checking out with gratitude. What a great group of men. Thank you so much for being here. Next man.
Thank you, Charlie. Jerry Smith, Sal Kovarabias, and Michael Heminger, please check out.
Said Jerry Stein. Okay. Yeah, Jerry Stein. Checking out with gratitude for the knowledge and the history regarding the smudging and the directions. I will take that back to my group and share that information with them. soon. Checking out with gratitude and joy. I'm out.
Thanks, Jerry. Sal?
Salco Barrubias Striking Eagle. Checking out with the intention of continuing doing the smudging the way that we've been doing it, and just keeping in mind that intention. And with that, I'm out.
Thank you, brother.
Michael
Hey,
Heminger,
Robert.
Wisconsin.
Oh, go ahead. I was going to direct Robert to Ruben's request in the chat. I'll shut up now.
Thanks, Bill. Michael Heminger, Wisconsin community. I think I can say with confidence that since the changes that were discussed tonight, that there hasn't been much smudging at my lodge where all of our groups meet. So I'm going to take this message back to my community. And what I learned tonight was that for me, for years, the juice has been the work that men are doing in the circle. And I realized that there's a much bigger picture that I'm connected to when I'm in these circles. And that's what I'll bring back to my community when I'm out.
Thank you. Ruben, and then Charlie Penner and Mark Roeder.
Ruben, checking out, lots of love and gratitude. Grateful for the opportunity to sit with you men. My intention is to take the information that I've received this evening and continue to pass it along my community with love and respect. I'm out, and thanks for having me, man. Gotta go.
Thanks, Ruben.
Charlie Penner, Boundless Possibility. Really appreciate the three brothers who were here and their knowledge and perspective. I feel like I learned a great deal and have much to think about. Our group really doesn't smudge, doesn't call in the directions, doesn't articulate intentions. At least the first two, I think we have good reasons for, but lots to reflect upon in terms of how we want to move forward. And I'm checking out with gratitude and connection. Thank you.
Thanks, Charlie.
Mark Broder, also checking out gratitude and connection. Really appreciate all the energy that is generated in these meetings and the energy that goes into creating them and inviting the speakers. And I feel enriched by a better understanding of why we do what we do at MKP from the traditions. I'm out with gratitude and connection.
Thanks, man. Brother James Post, Brother Josh Oros, and Michael, you're out. And Mike Marino, please check out.
The Post Sweet Leopard. I want to thank the men who put this together. I feel honored to be with these three men, and I feel honored to be closer to the source of this. And I'm going to take the stories back to my circle, and I'm going to practice what I've learned tonight. And I'm out with that.
Josh Orrell's Boulder and Embracing Love. Intention to take the wisdom that was shared this evening back to my Gwinnett, Georgia I group. And I'm checking out, feeling grateful to have attended and had the opportunity to hear the dialogue amongst men and also connect with the brothers in the small breakout rooms. With that, I'm checking out.
Josh.
Go ahead, Robert.
I'll check out. Robert, Great Horned Owl and Predatory Flight. Wild Melody is my inner essence. Remember the Golden Shadow Men in New Haven, Connecticut. I'm checking out Joyful, re-inspired to bring strong ritual to create a strong container in my I group. And going forward with that. And I'm in and I'm out with that.
Thank you. Marino here. I'm checking out with appreciation for the men that did show up and for you all to listen and being respectful. I'm going to take this, lead the next pit, take some of these teachings to those men. So thank you for all showing up, and we'll get this recording out there, so please pass this information along. And I want to thank you, and I'll see you all next month. Take care, man.
Thanks,
Right
Mike.
on time, Mike. Well done.
Thank you.
Thank you.